Hi, I'm Irene Tansman, author of Avi and Arlene's Autism War. Today I'd like to talk to you about mom dumping and the unserved. Now, most of my viewers are underserved, but today I'd like to talk about the unserved, and my hope is that you will forward your videos to people who might be interested in it. So going to talk about mom dumping, but first I'm going to have to talk about long-term care services in general, because people with severe intellectual and developmental disabilities are not the only ones receiving long-term care services and supports. So let's look at some of the other populations that receive long-term care services and support. One of the largest populations is the elderly. So how do the elderly get this covered? So for the elderly, um, there are basically three routes. One, people who are very wealthy and they just pay for whatever they need for long-term care services, nursing homes, assisted living. They just pay for it themselves. That's one way. Another way is to have long-term care insurance. Um, that's a second way of taking care of that. The third way is to either have no assets or spend down your assets until you only have $2,000. Then you qualify for Medicaid, and then Medicaid will pay for nursing home services or long-term uh, care services and supports, home and community-based services, whatever it is that you happen to choose. Um, Now, it's for someone with acquired brain injury, it would be kind of the same thing. They could pay for it themselves, or they spend down their assets and then Medicaid kicks in. So when someone from that population needs long-term care supports and services, um, they can go and seek those services right away. There is no authority that they have to get permission in order to get those services. Okay, so now let's look at long-term care services and supports for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, because the, um, that population has a special way of qualifying for that. Okay, so if your adult child has a severe disability and requires long-term services and supports, um, you have a gatekeeper agency, that's the Department of Developmental Services, does an evaluation on your child and on you to see whether you qualify for services. And part of that evaluation is that they evaluate what's called the ICAP. Part of the evaluation is they're assessing in their ultimate wisdom whether or not you are capable of taking care of your loved one at home. Now, this is a special procedure just for this population. Everybody else on Medicaid, when they need long-term care services and supports, that's all they need is the doctor saying, well, they need it. They're not assessed to see whether there's a family member who's able to take care of this person or not. Um, the family gets to decide whether they're going to do that or not. So for this population, you have a gatekeeping authority, that's the Department of Developmental Services, that determines whether or not you're going to get those long-term care services and supports, which usually in Massachusetts, usually home and community-based services. Maybe it's a day program, a day hab. You should be able to get a day hab without their authority. But even that is very difficult to get nowadays. So, what's happening in Massachusetts? Basically, it's something called mom dumping, which is the moms have to pick up where there is a gap in services, and where's the biggest gap is with the unserved. So, In conclusion, everybody else has one set of rules. Everybody else does not get assessed for whether or not they can take care, because it's a family member that can take care of the person who needs the long-term care services and support. That's not for anybody except only for this population. I'm going to leave it up to my viewers to to figure out whether or not that's discriminatory. That seems very discriminatory to me, and it's never been tested in court, but I wonder what would happen if it were tested in court. So I hope my video has been helpful to you, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.